Well, ladies and gents, TJ's at it again. Now, I posted this video a few days ago. I'm aware of that. I'm also aware that I just became aware of this video last night and whatnot. Oh, ironically, I did witness a DGU today. Those of you who don't know, defensive gun use. While it's not the most pleasant thing, it's still better than an innocent person being harmed severely or killed. And by the way, it wasn't me that committed the DGU. But again, I've seen bits and pieces of this video, and I can already tell you TJ puts his foot in his mouth and shows how much he doesn't know what he's talking about. So TJ, man, seriously, you need to quit while you can still actually, kind of pull your head up above that hole you're digging. But let's start with this video, okay?
No one's shocked anymore when someone just goes out and guns down a bunch of people for no real reason.
TJ, where do I start by that? If you're talking about people not being surprised, well, yeah, I mean, nobody's surprised that we have completely evil people, in the world who do bad things to other people. They're called criminals. Nobody's surprised we have them. If you're talking about disgusted or appalled, well, there are a lot of people that are disgusted and appalled by their actions. Now, if you're talking about that they're doing it for no apparent reason, well, there's a reason they do it. It's just not apparent to you.
We've gotten to the point where that's just like, oh, again? Huh. Weird. Yeah, those do happen a lot, don't they?
The only people who say those do happen a lot seem to be the very same people who are pushing gun control. The very people who say those do happen a lot are the very same people, for some reason, like to use inflated statistics, such as that, 200-something mass killings in the U.S. since, or in the year 2015. And what they use, the cases that they use, most of them don't even involve the FBI's definition of a mass public killing. And 37% of those, a significant number, don't even involve a fatality. Yeah, gee, TJ. When you cook the books, you can make it seem like those are happening quite a lot.
The suspect this time around, although his name has not been confirmed by the police, is Chris Harper Mercer.
Have you ever stopped to consider that a lot of these mass public killers do this for their notoriety? I mean, it's not like a lot of them haven't already put out their manifestos, when they do it. It's not like any of them, have expressed desire for media attention, even though, the big one in Virginia, he posted that up on Facebook, you talk about the Virginia Tech shooter. He sent his videos into MSNBC in between his killing rampage, and MSNBC played him just like he wanted. So perhaps maybe that notoriety, it plays a factor, TJ, and you are giving him that notoriety. Just saying.
He was shot dead at the scene. 6 weapons were recovered at the scene, and 7 were recovered from his residence. All of them were purchased legally.
Wow, so 13 firearms total. Funny thing was when his dad was interviewed, I think his dad took the same mentality about that. His dad didn't seem to be appalled by the fact that his son committed those heinous acts. He didn't have anything to say about his son's behavior. The only thing he could claim is, well, I don't know why my son was allowed to stockpile those 13 weapons. And he used the term stockpile. Hate to break it to you, dude, but my gun collection is around 50 now. 13 is a small number to me when it comes to firearms. I think it's been over a decade now since I've had that few firearms. But anyway, it just highlights the mentality of the gun control advocate. It seems like they're more appalled at the fact that somebody is able to own a firearm or somebody has a bunch of firearms more than they are the act of actual murder. I can give you an example, with the DGU I witnessed today. After the person drew his firearm on the person, the guy who got the firearm drawn on him said, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going back to get my gun." Now, just like all threats, most of them are BS. But I went out there to try to talk to the guy, calm him down. I'm like, "Look, man, hey, this isn't worth it." Now, given what I've just said, some gun control advocates are going to come out, especially if I was talking to like some of the gun control advocates I've known face to face, they'd be like, "Well, don't you want gun laws that will prevent guys like that from getting guns?" They won't even make notion about the dude losing his fucking shit. They won't make notion, they won't say a damn thing about the dude getting incredibly violent. All they want is more gun laws and more anti-gun policies, which could prevent that person who had the gun, who used the gun to defend himself, or somebody like me who would carry a gun to defend themselves, from having that gun should a bad guy slip through the cracks, or should a bad guy find another way to get a gun, or should a bad guy, find another way to kill you all in general. But again, shows you the mentality of the gun control advocate right there. They really do not care about saving people's lives. They're more appalled by the fact that somebody is able to get a firearm. Don't believe me? Well, shoot. Look at an article in The Independent. I'm going to post a link down there again. They're calling Britain's gun laws chaotic and inadequate, which is further evidence to show you that gun control advocates aren't going to stop. Now, it varies to the point of why they won't stop. A lot of them, it's just because they don't know the laws. They refuse to learn the laws. They're willingly stupid or willingly ignorant, which is, in my book, stupidity. Some of them, they're only pretending to be moderate, and a lot of them pretend to be moderate. They'll phrase their beliefs as moderate, to try to win over a lot of the people in the middle of the road and make anybody else who opposes them look crazy. Well, an attempt anyway. Just, so they can get their way. And they get one gun law passed, they're going to move on to the next. They're not going to tell you outright that, but they don't have any plans on stopping either.
From a federal arms dealer. Now, I am a supporter of gun control, and the second I said that, a bunch of mouse cursors just moved to the thumbs down icon down there.
Gee, TJ, I wonder why. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because a lot of us, when we hear the term gun control, we know what you're coming after. We know what you're planning on doing. We know what type of person you are as soon as you identify as a gun control advocate, which is why a lot of gun control advocates, oh, by the way, I give you props for identifying as a gun control advocate and being honest about it. I give you props about being honest, about being a gun control advocate. I'm not kidding you there. But that's why they change their name to stuff like Gun Sense, and they change their causes to gun safety laws and gun reforms. It's because as soon as people figure out what type of people they are, they stop supporting their agenda. And in fact, they become real disgusted with them real quick. You know? That's why you're getting the thumbs down. Aside from that, you know, you get a lot of those thumbs down because on this issue, you put your foot in your mouth a lot. You show you have no clue what you're talking about. You argue like a damn feminist on this one. I think I've said that in my previous response video to you. But the fact of the matter is that you really don't.
Yeah, fuck you, gun control. Fuck you.
Well, gee, TJ, maybe you should start to think about why that is. Why people are saying fuck you. Because when people point out that 200 number is a lie, and then, you know, you just dismiss it, yeah, you know what, you've just shown you don't want to have a reasonable discussion on the topic. When so many gun control advocates are sitting there blocking and banning on Twitter, you know, after they've sat there and claimed, well, we want a reasonable and open, honest discussion about it, even though they don't want to be open or honest, and they prove it time and time again, you know, what is there left to do other than just give you the fucking middle finger? You know, what is there left to do at that point? You know, other than insult you and give you the middle finger. You won't listen to logic. You won't listen to reason. You know, it's not you, not just you. A lot of other gun control advocates do that too. And you're going to continue to prove this in this video I'm responding to, aren't you? Yes, you are. I've seen a lot of it already.
You know, gun stores have to do background checks, but they're really not very thorough at all.
Do you know what type of background checks they're conducting at a gun store, TJ, now? They're conducting a background check to see if you have a prohibiting factor or something on your record that would make you a prohibited person. You're not applying for a secret clearance. You're not applying for a top secret clearance. You're not taking on a job that involves handling large sums of money. You're not taking on a job that requires you to handle a whole bunch of people's kids. You're not becoming a brain surgeon. You're just exercising a right. Now, here's how that system works. The second you become a prohibited person, your records are supposed to be sent to the NICS system. And they do get sent. Believe me, back before I had the CHL, every time I went to purchase a gun, the FFL would tell me, you have a security clearance, don't you? So, you don't think those background checks are too in-depth, that you're clearly smoking dope. But let's go on to see what your proof is.
Less than 1% of people are rejected, so basically no one.
You forgot to mention that those rejections a lot of the times get overturned because they were rejected based off a clerical error. Or, you know, they read them as a false positive. You know, it's a case of mistaken identity. And again, think of it this way, TJ. You were convicted of a felony. You did your time. You got out of prison. You were told by the judge it is now a felony for you to be in possession of a firearm or ammunition. You're a bad guy, though. You still want to get your gun, but you also know that FFL does a background check on you, and that FFL just might come back and call the police on you if you're shown to be a felon. Are you going to take the chance? Are you going to get busted over something that stupid? Are you going to make that dumb mistake? No. That's why most prohibited persons don't go to the gun store to buy a gun.
Is rejected from these things. You have to basically come in, with a bloody axe over your shoulder and a deranged look in your eyes. Wah! Need a gun!
I've seen FFLs turn people away without even doing the background check for a lot less.
And that's just gun stores. I could walk into a gun show today and just walk out with a gun.
TJ, how many times does this have to be pointed out to you? Gun shows aren't some magical event where federal law doesn't apply. Most gun dealers at gun shows are FFLs, and you still have to get a background check. You see, there was a period I went to a gun show and my concealed handgun license lapsed. Now, I already knew the law then when I purchased this PS90. Even though I was at a gun show, and even though I knew I was a good guy, I still had to get a background check. And by the way, I still have to, even though I don't get a background check in Texas, when I show them my CHL, maybe because my background is constantly run, and to get a CHL, it's a lot harder to do than getting a gun. I still have to fill out that 4473 form. But, alas, in some cases, you're going to have somebody there who might have set up, bought a booth at a gun show, and they're just selling some old guns that they don't want anymore so they can go buy a gun that they do want. And gun shows aren't really a big place for criminals to go get their guns. That's already been dispelled. A lot of the people you'll see at gun shows are pretty damn upstanding citizens who just happen to like firearms. And they're firearms enthusiasts. These are people that collect guns, they're into shooting sports, and these are the last people who you should distrust with a firearm. These are people that stand to lose their entire hobby if they get busted on any sort of felony. So, with that being said, TJ, you're wrong on gun shows. If you actually went to a gun show, you'd know that.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have no experience with a fucking firearm.
Well, thank you for being honest about that, TJ, that you don't have any experience with a firearm, that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But shouldn't that also mean that you should at least be honest enough to admit, hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, so maybe I shouldn't be telling all these other gun owners what laws they should and shouldn't have in place on their hobby?
Yeah, mosey on in here. Here we go. Got my gun. Walk on out.
Right. You were projecting your own traits onto first-time buyers and casual buyers. Okay, so we'll tell you a little something about a lot of the first-time buyers I've seen. Some of them fall into the category of they're either married to a firearm owner or, they're a relative of a firearm owner and they decided they wanted to get something for personal protection themselves, or they decided that maybe they want to get into the hobby of one of their favorite relatives, and they're usually talking to that favorite relative about this, and that favorite relative is coaching them and giving them the knowledge they want. The second category, these people may not have grown up in homes where firearms were really available or were really talked about all that much or owned all that much, but they decided they have an interest, and they usually talk to people like me, their gun-owning buddies, and they get some pretty good knowledge, before they buy a gun. I've coached quite a few people in buying their first, second, and third guns. And then the third category I've seen, sometimes they'll listen to you, sometimes they won't. A lot of them, just to have too much pride on their shoulder, and when they find out you're one of those, quote, gun nuts, then they really don't want to listen to you. But this would fall into the, typical Democrat, I really don't like guns, but I want to get one for safety, just in case the right-wing gun nuts come into my house at night and start the revolution or something like that, Or, they're the FUDs. For those of you who don't know, a FUD is somebody who only has maybe one or two guns that they've only touched maybe once or twice in the years that they may have owned them. And generally, they're not too fond of black rifles. A FUD might own something like this, and they may have touched it as many times as it has barrels. Those are the ones you got to worry about, because those are the ones that, come out and say, well, I'm a gun owner too, and I believe in common sense gun ownership. Or I believe in common sense regulations. Yet these people's experience with firearms is very limited. Their gun cred doesn't stack up to gun cred like mine. Well, because I'm a, quote, gun nut, they really have no desire to listen to me. So, TJ, here's a solution. Maybe you should start sending all these people that don't know what the fuck they're doing to people like me. Maybe you, instead of knocking the NRA, maybe, you and your buddies in the gun control group should start saying, well, hey, these guys really do know about firearms, and they really do have a lot of knowledge they can impart. Maybe we should actually listen to them.
I mean, some states it's a little stricter, but...
There's really no variance at all, or hardly any variance in state laws, right, TJ? So how do you know that? Well, let's start testing out your gun law knowledge here, TJ. What would I have to do with them rifles before I could take them with me to Colorado legally? Which one of my guns could I safely take to California knowing I'm not breaking the law? Well, I'll limit it to the ones in this video. I mean, I'll give you a hint. It's not this revolver. I cannot take this revolver with me to California. Do you know why? I mean, I'm almost pointing the answer out to you right there, But I bet you still wouldn't be able to tell me. Why would the police give me such a hard time in California for having a pistol like this? Actually, by hard time, I mean get charged and go to jail on an illegal weapons charge. Why would that be, TJ? I mean, what would I have to do if I was leaving all my New York illegal guns in Texas and taking a brief temporary job like for 6 months up in New York? What would I have to do if I wanted to take this particular pistol with me? Or, well, let's say I was moving to New York. What would I have to do in order to legally take this pistol with me? Oh, you don't know? Well, shoot, how can you make such a statement? How can you be so sure that the laws don't really vary all that much from state to state? Hey, TJ, which state is this round illegal in? These aren't trick questions, by the way. I kid you not. They are by no stretch trick questions. There are answers to every one of them. And the point behind this, TJ, is you're making these assertions without any clear fact to back them up. And, you know, you're misleading a lot of people. See, the fact of the matter is you don't know what the laws are. But you want to make the claims that they're too laxed, they don't vary much state to state, and that, any opposition to them is just written off as, you ain't taking my guns, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You know, with some damn straw man, you know.
This one, not really. And you can just go buy a gun from a private citizen, a friend, family member, total stranger, doesn't matter. You can go and buy a gun from them. They don't have to do a background check.
Yeah. Okay. That's not the case in all states. And actually, it's illegal in Oregon, Washington, California, New York, and quite a few other states. Now, in places like Texas, Arizona and stuff, yes, you can sell to friends, family, even a stranger, without a background check. However, you sell to somebody who you knew or should have known was a prohibited person, well, that's a felony. And again, a lot of people have a better judgment when they're selling a gun to somebody that they can talk to that person and say, well, maybe I should or shouldn't sell to them even though I don't know them. So, and a lot of people won't sell to strangers, which is a good policy to have, but when you're talking about the, quote, universal background check on what type of purchases you're trying to stop, i.e. John Doe straw man, selling guns illegally to Johnny B. Thug, well, guess what? It was already illegal for him to sell the gun to Johnny B. Thug. He was already breaking a federal law. What makes you think he's going to follow that law requiring him to give Johnny B. Thug a background check first? Yeah, there are always ways that a criminal can get around those laws. And even if, there's a registration, even if John B. Strawman, got caught, well, you don't think that John B. Strawman can't find another way to acquire a firearm? You don't think Johnny B. Thug can find another way to acquire a firearm? I mean, and let's say they couldn't. Let's say you were right on that one. What's to stop them from finding another way to kill? That's what most people want to prevent. Gun control advocates, I'm not convinced that you want to stop these people from killing. I think you're more concerned about stopping people from owning firearms or making it as damn difficult as possible.
They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is give you the gun and you give them the money.
Now, why exactly is that wrong? You know, I'm selling to a good friend of mine who I already know is legally allowed to own a firearm. Why should we have to subject him to a background check? A friend of mine is selling me a firearm. Hell, I loan my firearms out to good friends and families, and the way those laws are written, you know, what I do would then become a felony. You know, why should I have to subject my mother to a background check if I buy her a pistol for Christmas? Why should I subject my cousin to a background check if I decide to let him borrow a rifle to go shooting with? Why should I subject my friend to a background check if saying he desperately needs a firearm? He doesn't have any firearms of his own, but an emergency came up, and now he's facing a serious threat. And now all of a sudden he woke his ass up and decided, well, gosh darn, I think I need to start protecting myself now. And the fact of the matter is that there is nothing wrong with that. Gun control advocates still want to make that illegal anyway, though.
Imagine if it was that easy to get a car.
It is.
Like, all I had to do to get a car was walk into the dealership and, slap some money on the counter and I could just drive away.
Actually, you can do that. Now, obviously you can't drive on public roads without a driver's license. Not legally, but people do it anyway, just like they drive without insurance. They drive with either out-of-date registration or without registration at all. So, again, those laws really are only obeyed by the law-abiding citizens, or by the citizens who actually go and obey those laws. There are plenty of people out there driving without insurance. A lot of people will get registration begrudgingly after or get their vehicles registered properly, begrudgingly after they've been caught once or two times. I know somebody who drove around without registration quite frequently and owed some money to the state of Texas because he was driving around without his vehicle being properly registered. You can go and buy a car from a friend, a family member, a complete stranger even. Just by throwing the cash down, he hands you the title, and you drive off. So yeah, it is that easy. But you know what? Since you want to bring up the car comparison, I'm game on that one.
I don't need to prove I have a license. I don't need to prove I have insurance. I don't need to prove I'm not a psychopath that's going to run 50,000 people down in my fucking car.
You don't have to have any of those things to actually buy a car. Sorry. There is no prohibited from buying a car class. You can buy a car at 12 if you have the cash. They might not let you drive it off the lot. They might have somebody drive it to your place for you. You don't have to have a license to own a car, though. You don't have to have it registered even if it doesn't leave your private property. You don't have to get insurance for it if you're not financing it and if it stays on your own property. But since we're comparing cars to guns, what point is my license to carry going to be recognized in all 50 states? Like my driver's license is, TJ? Because the last time those proposals came up, a lot of these people, especially like Dianne Feinstein, who was, all about this assault weapons ban, it still is, by the way, use the argument of, well, you're violating their state's rights of other states with stronger gun laws. You're not letting them decide their gun laws. Oh, good. Fuck them. You know why? Because your state, Dianne Feinstein, California, voted you in office. And you're sitting there trying to put your gun laws at a federal level. You're not letting Texas, Vermont, and other states choose their own gun laws, so fuck you. And that's my opinion on it. I don't care what anyone else thinks about that one. You know, if you're somebody out there going to violate other people's rights and you're trying to infringe on other people, I don't give a fuck if somebody else infringes on you. You know, ask me how much sympathy I feel for the armed robber who gets his ass robbed and pistol whipped in broad daylight. Ask me how much sympathy I feel for, say, I don't know, say somebody who goes around hitting other people, for no reason at all, and then finally one day, they're just minding their own business and somebody beats the fuck out of them. I don't care. It would it would be as if if Stalin came back to life and some other dictator executed him right then and there. I don't give a damn about the rights of others when they want to go infringe on other people's rights. But that was a little off topic, so I'm going to get back on the video.
That'd be quite a feat, actually. I don't have to prove any of that. I can just buy the car, drive away. Do you think that if that were the law of the land, that it was perfectly permissible for me to do that? Do you think traffic accidents would go up or down?
Well, you know what, TJ? You can't go into a gun store and just buy a gun, load it there in the gun store, put it in a holster, and walk away with it. You can buy a gun in a gun store. You don't load it. You keep it in a case. You put it in your trunk of your car, and you drive away. It doesn't mean you have the authority to carry the license to carry it on the streets. Just the same as you can go buy a car from someone else without a license to drive it, get it, and then drive away. It's not exactly legal. But nonetheless, you can still legally buy that car without a license.
And if your answer's down, I'd really love to hear your reasoning.
Okay. So you're obviously trying to put a metaphor in against more guns, less crime. Well, you see, here's the thing, TJ. Most states' concealed handguns licensing laws are already strict enough. And everything we could do gun law wise to prevent bad guys from getting guns, we've already done. Now, the point is whether or not we've gone too far to keep law-abiding citizens from owning and carrying firearms to protect themselves and their loved ones. That's the argument, and there's no doubt in my mind when you're talking about New York or California style gun control, you've already done that. You know that when you talk about gun-free zones, well, no law-abiding citizen, aside from the police, can carry guns into gun-free zones. And some of those gun-free zones, police can't even carry their guns into. So, in effect, what you've done is disarmed the law-abiding citizens. The criminals simply ignore those gun-free zones. Criminals, by definition of criminals, will always find ways to get guns. Or they'll find another way to kill, or murder, or commit armed robbery, or assault you, or rape, or break into your home. But since you want to pose that question to everybody, I have a question for you. Put yourself in the shoes of Joe Burglar. You got two neighborhoods you can hit. you've got this neighborhood, we'll call it hick neighborhood since you like to stereotype gun owners as being a bunch of hicks. Now, in this neighborhood, you break into somebody's property, they catch you trespassing, they're allowed to shoot your ass dead. They're legally allowed to own, all the way up to machine guns. And they do. And they love their machine guns. And then you've got, we'll call it Progressive Town, is your second neighborhood. Now there's such intelligent, upstanding progressives who wouldn't dare be caught around a gun. In fact, guns are illegal in their neighborhood. So is killing you if you come on their property. They have to be nice to you. They can't touch you if you come onto their property. Now, as Mr. Burglar, which one would you pick? Hicktown or Progressive Town? You see how that works, TJ? Oh, and if you're dumb enough to choose Hicktown, well, I'd like to know why.
We've got the TSA groping us at the airports, making us take our shoes off, making us take our belts off.
Two arguments on that one, TJ. First off, when you have a gun-free zone and you truly want it to be gun-free, you got to do something to make it gun-free. You see where I'm getting at there? And second, I don't really like the TSA groping me down at the airport either. But then again, I'm not too fond of gun-free zones. So, really, your mentality is more in line with the mentality that got us TSA groping than mine is. See, TJ, it doesn't take much for a free society to become not so free. All it takes is a group of vocal chicken shits, sheep, if you will, to say, oh no, government, we don't want this freedom. We don't want anybody to have this freedom. We want you to protect us. We can't have this type of person getting a gun. We need gun control. We need sensible gun laws. It's the same type of argument that gets stuff like the stop and frisk policy put in place. It's the same argument, the same mentality, I should say, that gets all sorts of Orwellian things put in place, if you will. So, while I'm not in favor of overthrowing the U.S. government, I don't particularly think that any sort of uprising is going to just directly crush the U.S. government, and the day will be saved. Well, I don't believe that necessarily will be is the truth. I will tell you one thing. Those people, let's sit there and say, well, we don't think anybody should have a rifle like this. We want the government to have some sensible gun laws. Here you go, government. Oh, we don't want these. We don't want that type of freedom and responsibility, even though y'all don't call it freedom, obviously, even though that's what it is. You guys are willing to give up the freedom to own one of these and other firearms now that are highly restricted or outright illegal to own. But the point is that you're willing to give up this, your right to own this, because you're scared of a criminal getting it, then you'll never remain free. You will eventually lose everything. Not just your guns, but your freedom to go places and not get stopped and frisked. You asked for it, not me.
Making us go through full body scanners, subjecting us to radiation, while the girl at the monitor giggles at my small penis.
No, I said it before. You asked for it, whether you realize it or not me.
Such a big guy, but such a little tiny dick. Gotta go through all that because terrorism.
We need sensible gun laws because of mass shootings. We need common sense restrictions because of gun violence.
And we found out that the NSA is spying on our every phone call, reading our every email, watching everything we do every second.
I mean, again, you're proving my point right here. You wanted the government to have the ability to put restrictions on firearms and firearm ownership. And now, you're whining, when the government goes a little further and does things that you don't like for your own protection. Gee, how do you reason? How do you even consider yourself logical?
Second of every day. Why? Terrorism.
Ban the AR-15. Why? Mass shooters. More gun control. Why? Mass shooters. You see, TJ, you see how your mentality is the exact same as the people you're mocking right now.
And we got the Patriot Act fucking us in the ass, saying, oh, civil liberties, huh? Not anymore, bitch. Yeah, take it, American people, take it. I'm protecting you from terrorism. Vox compiled a chart comparing deaths from gun homicides versus deaths from terrorism in America. Look at this chart. Gun murder deaths tower over terrorism-related deaths every year, including 2001. So we will accept absolute fascism to protect us from the almost non-existent threat of terrorism. And yet, we won't be even mildly inconvenienced in order to maybe get the gun deaths down.
Actually, we already have, TJ. You tried to buy a machine gun? I don't think you have. You wouldn't know the rules on that, would you? What about a sound suppressor? What about a machine gun manufactured after 1986? You tried to buy that? I haven't attempted to buy any of those yet. But eventually, one day, I will get around to getting some NFA Title II stuff. Now, obviously, I can't buy the post-1986 machine gun. But, TJ, you don't know the reason why that is. Because you, again, open your mouth out of ignorance, just like you did with that statement there. Hell, even buying an NFA Title I firearm in most states, going through that background check is an inconvenience. You want to talk about New York? It's more than a mild inconvenience. You want to talk about California, buying a gun in California? A little bit more than a mild inconvenience. You see, the fact of the matter is, TJ, is you don't acknowledge these rules. I mean, it's like these rules don't even exist to you. Then you're going to go on and act like we don't have any rules. And just claim we need more. And this is why. people are calling you on this. This is why people are saying no fucking more. But, again, you see where these rules come to. And by the way, I'm pretty much opposed to the NSA just randomly spying on people. I'm opposed to the TSA gropes. But guess what? You got to do something to keep those airports gun-free because of terrorists. It's the same mentality that you have whenever you sit there and say, well, we need to regulate guns to drop some of these gun deaths. It's the exact same mentality.
A little fucking bit. I'm tired of gun advocates continuously spewing things at me like criminals will always be able to get guns anyway.
No. You know what? The criminals didn't get guns, when it came to the Charlie Hebdo shooting, right? Oh, Anders Breivik, we were all just imagining him getting a gun, right? Norway's gun laws obviously prevented him from getting that gun, right? And he never really carried out that massacre. Oh, the Cumbria massacre, criminal. I was just imagining that, right? Oh, the bank robbers in the '97 Hollywood shootout. I was just imagining them having Type 56 Norenkos, right? For those of you who don't know what that is, that's like the full auto AK. That's the Chinese version of the AK. Those are full auto. No. Yeah, so, criminals, gun laws stop criminals, they work incredibly well. In fact, if you go to Ciudad Juarez, those gun laws have worked out amazingly there. You can walk around on the street and not have to worry about a grenade getting thrown at you or getting your ass shot off, right?
By that logic, we might as well just not even have any laws.
Alright, so let me dispel this once again. And I'm going to dispel this for you nice and clear, TJ. Hell, what harm have I done to anybody by owning this? Name the damages. Hell. You know what, let's take all the gun laws off the book entirely. Let's say John B. Felon owned himself an an M4 A1. Had a 10-inch barrel, sound suppressor, obviously full auto, got the select fire capabilities. And it was 100% legal. And John B. Felon purchased it after prison because he decided he still wanted one. Right? John B. Felon owns it. What harm has John B. Felon caused to anybody by owning that M4 with a 10-inch barrel, sound suppressor, and select fire capabilities? And the answer is there hasn't been any harm done by that, right? He hasn't harmed anybody merely by possessing it. Now, let's throw off the murder laws, right? So now murder is 100% illegal. Was 100% legal, right? John B. Felon takes a knife and stabs little Jimmy to death. Has little Jimmy been harmed? Yes. The damages? He was stabbed to death. Do you understand the difference now, TJ? Do you understand?
Just admit that you're a fucking anarchist. Of course, criminals are gonna break the law. That's why they're fucking criminals.
Oh, God, the stupidity with this guy hurts. All right, I think I'm going to just respond to this comment and go to bed. Shoot, I think I'm done responding to this video. Okay, first off, TJ, nobody is advocating getting rid of all the laws. You know, what we're advocating for is letting people have the freedom to own a firearm without having to fucking go to a court just to exercise a basic right. Second, you gun control advocates will never admit when your law has wrongfully deprived people of their freedom to own a firearm. You know, you don't even give a shit enough to know about the actual laws that are on the books, or what laws are really on the books and what are not. You don't give a shit to learn about the people who have protected themselves with a firearm. You know, hell, you refuse to admit that there have been people who've been killed thanks to your gun laws. You know, and you gun control advocates don't have a word to say about it. You know? Either that or you just deny reality and sit there and say, oh, it'll be apocalyptic gun battles. Like you did with concealed carry when it was becoming a shall issue in many states. When it was a national debate. Just like you're pulling that same argument, like you haven't been disproven yet when it comes to campus carry. You know, you refuse to admit you have any fucking laws on the book. You know? You refuse to admit that your laws don't work. Well, you know, when they obviously don't work. You know? It doesn't matter how many laws we have on the books. You guys are always going to be calling for more laws and more restrictions. You know? And then when somebody sits there and says, no, all of a sudden they're anarchist. When they sit there and say, no, not a damn one, not another restriction. In fact, hey, we need to get rid of some of these other restrictions because they're useless. They haven't done anything. They haven't prevented crime. They haven't reduced any deaths. You know? So, yeah, why should anybody give in and support another law which we know is fucking useless? Hell, name me one good reason why we shouldn't be fighting to repeal some of these laws we already have on the books that are fucking useless. You know, you can't answer that question, TJ. You refuse to do the fucking research. You refuse to learn a goddamn thing, and you won't listen to the people that do know. You're going to sit there and cite bogus studies, bogus statistics, and you're going to resort to sitting there making assertions that you pull out of your ass or out of the ass of every town. This is our problem with you, TJ. God dang. You know, I can't continue to responding. I can't continue to keep responding to this guy. This guy is a complete fucking moron on this issue.